I thought I'd briefly talk about this Bianca OxyChan murder thing a little bit, but only a little, mostly because I'm a normal fag. I don't really show up to 4chan, and my general understanding about the r9k board is it basically is the exaggerated stereotype that normal fags have about 4chan. Whenever they say it's a den of fucking weirdos and psychopaths and losers and misogynists and shit, that's not so much 4chan or 8chan, but I kind of think in a lot of ways, at least as far as the weird kind of sociopathic loser part, I think r9k might have a lot of that going on. The first time I was ever exposed to any content from this board is somebody sending me a video and saying, "Hey, check this fucked up shit out." And it was some kid who was talking. He was like masked or something, and he was talking to some people on like Skype and holding up signs saying like he was going to kill himself. And then he put a shotgun to his head and blew his head off. And what other people have told me about that incident is largely r9k's response to this depressed loser killing himself live on stream was, why the fuck did he buy like an overpriced fucking bullshit shotgun to do it when he could have gone to Walmart and gotten like a cheap Remington? Like, what a fucking waste. And that kind of callousness is almost hilarious, but that's kind of internet culture in general for you. That's not unique to 4chan or anything. But this incident is a little bit different because of the normal fag response to it. A lot of people are trying to say that this chick Bianca was some sweet, innocent, pretty girl, and some stalker tracked her down through the internet and murdered her. And it's a little different than that. This was somebody that she knew, had a personal relationship with and had sex with, but wasn't really her boyfriend, because she was an underage ethot who actually was fucking at least half a dozen, by her own admission, of her own fans and sending nudes to people for money, which as a 17-year-old is technically child pornography and a crime. And she tended to be extremely emotionally abusive to her orbiters, as she called them, and which technically they definitely were. It was an accurate description. And one of her orbiters got tired of getting jerked around, thought he had a real relationship with her, and she told him no. She humiliated him in front of people and said, like, I used you and shit. But she, I never cared about you at all. And continued to associate with this guy who she had humiliated and embarrassed. And she was also a crazy person who I think showed strong symptoms of borderline personality disorder. She'd say a bunch of this kind of horoscope level contradictory bullshit of, oh, I really want to love and be loved, but I also don't care about people, and I struggle to connect, but all I want to do is connect, and I'm A but also not A, that kind of bullshit. And she seemed to be a fucking horrible person who would use, oh, I'm so depressed, or oh, I'm so weird and quirky, to get attention. And I believe some people on 4chan referred to her as OxyChan because she would blackmail guys for Oxycontin. So the moral of the story as far as her is, no, she wasn't a sweet, innocent girl. She was a horrible whore. She was a piece of fucking shit. Doesn't mean she deserved to get. And unfortunately, I've seen the photos that the killer posted on social media. They are horrible. He basically decapitated her with a very large hunting knife that was about yay long, and it's extremely graphic, and not even a scum fucking bag like Bianca deserves that shit. However, a moral of the story I'd like to impart to the audience is this thing about victim blaming is one of the most useless possible conversations you can have in all of fucking humanity. It is the most counterproductive, stupid bullshit. Nobody deserves to get their head cut off unless they're way worse person than even she was. And let me tell you, Bianca was a piece of shit, degenerate scumfuck. Okay? Not an innocent sweet little girl. Piece of shit. However, not at the level where any deserves to be murdered or hurt like that. But here's where she was also a fucking retard. If you're going to associate with creeps and you're going to sexually have relationships with creeps, then break up with them in a humiliating and a very demeaning fashion, and then continue to associate with them and be alone with them while you are a person who's known for being openly, explicitly saying, I have sexual fantasies not just of being raped, but I have sexual fantasies of being murdered with a knife, and then you hang around this guy who you did all this horrible shit to, who you know from a kind of horrible image board, and you're alone with him after, like, kissing guys and shit in front of him, after humiliating him. You should have every expectation of him of, you know, being a creep, being jealous, and maybe even being violent. I don't know what the... And then this happens, and it's just like, at what point can we put the victim blaming fucking label down and just say, this chick does have a personal responsibility for her own safety. I'm not going to walk onto like 112th Street in Harlem and say, I hate all N-words, and just shout it at the top of my lung and not expect fucking harm to come to me. Perhaps lethal fucking harm. This is like leaving a Rolls Royce unattended in downtown Detroit for a day and a half and expecting nothing to happen to it. You know, shit like that. They're at least taking your rims, dude. Like, fucking... What the fuck? This is just a circus clown show clusterfuck. Every which way you could possibly look at it. You have a horrible person associated with other horrible people. They're doing horrible things to each other. And the one thing that I think is completely unacceptable when discussing this shocking event is pretending like there's this clean victim-perpetrator dichotomy. Real life, unfortunately, is scarier than this. A lot of people are afraid of strangers, when the fact is, if you're going to be assaulted, sexually assaulted, or even murdered, dude, the chances that it's somebody you know, the chances that it's mom, dad, brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, through the fucking roof. You know, the call's coming from inside the house. And the fact of the matter is, the kind of fucking weirdo creeps that do this kind of shit and are this kind of people are not always these ugly pony, you know, petting neckbeard fedora types. A lot of times the horrible fucking monsters are underage fucking prostitute blackmailing creeps, degenerate sideshow ethos. And the people who killed him, like the guy who killed her, I think this was like this relatively normal looking guy who obviously was not a normal guy, but like appearances are deceiving, and the idea that it was just some stalker or something. No, it's somebody she knew, associated with, and had romantic, I use that word very lightly, involvement with. And this was, you know, a crime of passion, like from people who had a, like, lack of a better word, a passionate relationship. And it just disturbs me to no end that scumfucks like Brianna Wu are going like, oh, you know, this is toxic masculinity. This is the nature of the anonymous internet. Look, no, this was personal. This event, this horrible tragedy, this murder was a personal vendetta type thing from people who knew each other, which could happen to anybody, happens to bazillions of people all the time. And just because it was associated with r9k or 4chan or whatever, and because people on like Kiwi Farms thought it was interesting and did a whole article on it, all of a sudden it's like a news story, when really shit like this happens every single day, folks. This is not really that unusual, unfortunately. We wish it was. It should be, but it's not. This happens every fucking day. It's like I say, like everyone thinks like, oh, Florida man's a thing. No. Like Florida man, that kind of bizarre shit happens literally anywhere that like methamphetamine and crack cocaine is sold. And the only reason why you hear about Florida Man is because Florida is pretty much the only state where they will release arrest records to the press. They don't have to charge you of a crime. They don't have to convict you of a crime. They just they put it up on a blotter and say this asshole was just arrested for blank. And the news media just goes like, it's free fucking clickbait bullshit. But really, trailer park meth head weirdo freaks and people with schizophrenia and all sorts of mental fucking disorders that cause them to hurl alligators through the fucking drive-through window of McDonald's are every fucking where. You just don't hear about it. People who horribly murder their ex-girlfriend, everywhere. You just don't hear about it. Sensationalist media paddlum, okay, folks? It's bullshit. But the thing that's real is that this isn't special, unique, circus, clown, sideshow. The world, it's all clown world. This is not unusual. And it's frustrating that everybody's got to use this as a political device when it's not like that. Unlike the terrorist who attacked, tried to firebomb an ICE facility, immigration and customs control fucking facility, and fucking tried to burn down a detention center where they basically would have only killed innocent illegal aliens. And the guy was shot and shit. You don't hear about that anywhere. But this fucking stupid Bianca bitch, and you hear about that everywhere. It's not really news. It sounds like it until you think about it, and then you realize this isn't news. Maybe it should be news, but it's not. It's commonplace, sick, fucking dark side of humanity shit anyway. Thanks for watching.